Guys, welcome to Onelife Podcast. Here with Ed from Dig This. Thank you for being here. We know each other already through work.
Yep.
He may sound like me, but he's actually a Kiwi, which is a New Zealander.
We speak clearer English.
Yeah,
Australians.
but you also swear a lot more than we do. So if you don't know what is Dig This?
Well, Dig This is the world's first ever heavy equipment playground. Where we let folks like yourself that aren't associated with the construction industry that can just come out to our place and relive their sandbox days again, but for real, on all types of equipment.
So you're talking what? Bull Dozers?
We're talking everything. We got Bull Dozers and excavators and skid steer loaders and big loaders and smaller excavators for little 2-year-olds and older, right up to, the big gear for.
And then you got the big excavator that crushes the cars too, right?
Yeah, so we got an aggression. It's an aggression session.
Yeah.
It's a 20-ton excavator we used to smash up cars. It's a lot of fun.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing thing that you've accomplished. So I want to kind of go back to where you got started.
Yeah.
But I do want to mention, with my job, I've done a lot of amazing things. Jet skis around Statue of Liberty, helicopters, skydiving stuff. You're in the top 3 things I've ever done, ever.
Yeah, cool.
It's really damn cool.
Yeah, good to hear.
So, I mean, if you're in Las Vegas or you're coming to Las Vegas, and I mean, when I say I've done a lot, my camera's taken me a lot of places, but this is something I feel like it's a must do for anybody at some point in their life. And it's affordable, and the staff are so amazing, and it's not intimidating. And I think you're doing an amazing job with what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
So where did you get started? What makes you think you can come to Las Vegas from New Zealand and bring some big heavy equipment with you?
Yeah, it's crazy where I've come from to here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
I grew up on, sheep and cattle stations in New Zealand, and I was a stockman.
What part of New Zealand?
Down on the South Island in New Zealand.
Were you really?
Yeah, it's sort of around that central area around Christchurch and Dunedin and Central Otago, and it's where all the high country is there. And so I love the high country. I love working stock dogs and riding horses and really live the dream as a young fella.
Yeah.
But I'd always had a fascination with heavy equipment. I did 2 years on a tractor when I left school. I was breaking in some of the high country there. And a bit of pasture land. And so, it was quite monotonous and kind of boring sometimes, but the steep country sort of, gave us a bit of a thrill. But I always had a fascination with heavy equipment. My father was a contractor, not so much in the heavy equipment, but he did a lot of culverts and highways and during road development. So he'd hire people to come in, and during my school holidays, I'd be on a stop and go paddle. And,
really?
Yeah, but I was always around.
Really well, don't they?
What's that?
Don't they get paid really well?
Well, I didn't, but it was my father paid me. But well, they do now.
Yeah, but, I think they make pretty good money.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, but anyway, I was always around the heavy equipment, but I never got to get on it.
Gotcha.
And then I went tractor driving for my first year out of school, and then got into the stock work afterwards and stuff. But I love heavy equipment. I think it's one of the best inventions out there. I mean, it built the infrastructure of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
And when you're around it, it's got this presence.
Yeah.
And you just want to get in and play on it, which is why I started Dig This, because I don't want to work on it. I just wanted to play on it.
I can start to see your passion coming out.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How did you get from New Zealand to the States? Or did you start in New Zealand? How do you get into the business?
Yeah,
I'm seeing where the passion's coming from.
Yeah. Well, when I first came here, I was with a friend of mine. He was big into rodeo in New Zealand, and we were just on a road trip. He talked me into coming over with him, and a lot of my friends were in the rodeo circuit here. They're all farmers from New Zealand, and they came back with awesome stories about the States. A lot of my friends went to the UK, once they got done with uni and that, did their 2-year road trip around Europe. And I always, I grew up on Bonanza and Gunsmoke and all those cool westerns, and I always wanted to come to the States, so I jumped on the opportunity.
Gotcha.
So I was only supposed to be here 3 months, and ran into a lovely lady in Colorado. And now I've been here 30 years.
Have you really? Wow. It's funny how that happens.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, but her family were ranching, the ranching side of things. And then they had some need for some fencing, and I used to do a lot of fencing back in New Zealand. And so from there, it turned into a fencing company.
Okay. And that's where you started.
That's where I started.
Okay.
And, we used to work alongside roadways, and people would stop and watch us on the equipment. And it never really clicked that they were interested in maybe jumping on something like that. But it wasn't until I built a house in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, that I decided to do all the excavating work myself with the help of a good friend who was a really good operator. And I'd groomed up on the ski area, been on some of the bigger stuff. But
how do you get access to the equipment? Are you just renting it?
Yeah, just rent it.
So once you got a license, you just rent it and
Yeah. So anyway, so I started a fencing company and was around all the heavy equipment and working on it. And, we used to push in roads and tracks and stuff, fence lines and everything, but loved every minute of it. And then when I did the house, it occurred to me when I was banging in the road there and getting the house site developed, I thought, man, I'm having a great time. And then it occurred to me that if I'm having this good a time, imagine the amount of people that just want to come and play on it.
That's interesting.
So I sort of thought of that business model then, and then started expanding on that. And I invited some friends up to see if they wanted to jump in the dozer or the excavator, and they didn't hesitate.
How old were you?
I was in my 30s.
Did you have any business experience prior besides the fencing? Was that your business experience?
No, not really. I mean, that was really my only business experience.
Gotcha. So it's weird that you stopped and thought about it enough to like, hey, maybe someone else would enjoy this.
Yeah. So anyway, I told my wife what I was thinking, and I think she thought I was a bit nuts at the start. But
I bet she thought you were crazy.
Because I was in a good business and we we're making good money, and then I had this harebrained idea like, maybe I should start a heavy equipment attraction. Nobody's doing it.
Yeah, just doesn't make sense, right?
No, based on my friends' reactions when I said, hey, do you want to come jump in this machine? Yeah. I need to see if you like it or not. Well, after that, I thought, well, I could be onto something here after there.
What was the reaction? They were going crazy.
They were just in awe. They were like, wow, this is fantastic.
Especially at your house where there's no rules. You don't have to worry about anyone watching. You could do whatever you wanted.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you could really test the equipment.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What machine did you have? Just a bulldozer?
No, I had a 30-ton excavator and about a equivalent to a D7 bulldozer.
Gotcha.
Because we had a lot of clearing to do.
So you had some good stuff to play with.
We had some good gear there, yeah. So it was enough to get their eyes wide open and go, wow, this is cool.
Did you have guys and girls come around?
Yep. Right across the board.
Okay, what were the girls' reactions? Just the same as the guys?
Oh, big time, yeah. In fact, they did a lot better because they listened to instructions.
Yeah, they did, don't they?
But they, and they show emotion and that, and guys tend to get a little bit more, into it than they need to.
Yeah.
But they overthink it a bit. But no, it was a great little exercise, and then from there, I knew because I didn't have the business background or the experience in this kind of business, I built a team around me to fill in those expertise.
Okay.
And so over about 3-4 months, we all sat around a round table basically and developed.
So you just presented that idea to a certain amount of people?
What's that?
You just presented that idea to the right. What type of people are you talking about?
So the people... I had a round table people that were in construction.
Okay.
Because they could tell us if we were crazy or not in some of the exercises we needed to put together.
Okay.
Because we had to build the activities around, first and foremost, it being safe.
Yeah.
And second, being a ton of fun in a short amount of time, and people leaving with a huge sense of achievement from their 1 hour of operating time.
Gotcha.
Which is what we thought would be an ideal time. We actually started out with 2 hours of operating time.
Okay.
But anyway, we had the people that were in the industry. I had people that were in the tourist industry. And then I had another person as well who was good on psychology and knew really good people skills on how to communicate what we were trying to do to someone who had never been in a piece of equipment before.
Interesting.
So we had a round table discussion there for quite a while, and then we started building programs and experimented with them. I rented some equipment.
You just on at the house?
No. We leased a piece of property. Just
in Colorado.
Yeah, a friend of mine. He had a piece there. Let us set up there, and then
just for literally like business practices.
Yes.
Just building the business.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it turned out it was a good place to start.
Okay.
And so it was a farm. That it was easy to get the permits in order to get going, and just developed the business model.
Okay.
And so over a year, we developed that business model through trial and error, and we came up with some really good activities, not just for private or tourists or individuals, but also for corporate team building as well.
Okay.
So
which is huge. Yeah, we'll get to that later. That's huge for you, right?
So anyway, we spent 2 years in Steamboat Springs, which is a very small resort community, and we just did it over the summer, and then all of a sudden we had people. Once the word got out that I'd started this business, we had people coming and spending a lot of money just to get to little Steamboat Springs in Colorado,
just
to get there,
and
then pay another $300-400 just to come and do the experience.
So the money wasn't an issue.
Money wasn't an issue, but we were kind of isolated, and it was nice to see people were making the effort to come.
Yeah, that's going to tell you something, right?
But the goal was always to place it into a bigger market like Las Vegas.
Where you don't have to go.
Obvious reasons.
Yeah. Where you're coming anyway. Yeah. Was it 40 million tourists come to Las Vegas a year or something?
What's that?
Isn't like 40 million tourists come to Las Vegas a year? Something ridiculous.
Yeah, it's even more this year. The numbers are off the charts now. But yeah, I mean, Vegas is a great place for what we do for obvious reasons. I mean, it's a year-round climate, which is awesome. It's also got one of the largest convention businesses in the world, and also it's a hub for tourism, conventions, meetings, and we have a lot of markets to pull in customers from.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What how do you fund something like that, because that can't be cheap?
No. It was luckily my wife and I had a good amount of money to start with.
So you had a bit of savings.
And then we started finding investors once we started to get going.
Okay.
And so once we presented it, and, we were in really early stages, and it was tough raising money back then.
Was it daunting putting savings into this, being comfortable, having a comfortable business, and then throwing yourself in the deep end?
Oh, it was nuts. It was crazy.
Was your wife ready to kill you?
A lot of sleepless nights. And
really?
Yeah, well, I mean, we were quite stable.
That's what I mean. You're stable and comfortable.
I threw a real stone in the works there, but my wife was very supportive.
That's awesome.
She just said, "Keep going, follow your dream." And and I had some good friends that invested as well. They knew me as a person that once I started something, I usually wanted to follow it through.
So you had that integrity behind you. And
yes.
Recognized
that. Yeah.
Okay.
And people wanted to invest, and I said no. Don't invest, because they didn't have a lot of money. I didn't want them to blow it on something that was still in the in the development phase as well. So, but we found some good people, and they jumped on board. They're still with us.
Really?
And we're at a phase now where we're profitable now, and but man, that was a journey getting to where we are.
That was one of my biggest questions for you. I'm like, what makes you think you can do that?
Yeah.
And B, how do you fund doing that?
Yes.
And then everything's got to fall in place and actually work for that to go together.
Yeah, look, you got to have a certain amount of tenacity to get to where
and insanity at the same time, right?
A huge percentage of startups fall apart within the first 2 years. Well, there's a lot of reasons, and some of it you can't control. But I think if you really believe in what you're doing, you'll find ways to keep things going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think passion being the main thing?
Oh, definitely. You got to be very passionate about what you're doing and believe in what you're doing. And look, I know people that are starting business. The old rule was, you should be 5 years. If you're starting a business, you should be profitable.
Okay.
And in a lot of cases it is, but when you're starting something from scratch that's never been done before, we were the only ones in America that done this at the beginning.
In America or the world?
Well, in the world, on the level that we are. There was a small company there's a company in the UK. It's called Diggerland, and they have an awesome program, but it's for small kids' rides.
Okay. So it's not adults. Okay.
It's not adults. They're getting into that now by the look of it.
So you never had a blueprint to copy?
Never had a blueprint.
It wasn't doing it in and out next door at McDonald's. Yeah. You're figuring everything out yourself.
Mate, I was shooting from the hip all the way for about 4 or 5 years.
I think that's one of the things I really respect the most about what you've done is no one else is doing it. No one else has done it.
Yeah.
That's got to be amazing feeling.
Yeah, and there's some others getting into it now, but we when you're starting from scratch like that, it's super scary, but it's super exciting as well. And the big thing I learned from this, from the startup, which was, we've been at it over 15 years now.
Oh, really? Okay.
But was to learn not to panic, because when the chips are down, when you panic, you make bad decisions.
Okay.
And we sure as hell did that for the first 5 years. And, when you're running out of money, it's getting desperate. You got to fundraise again, and it's quite scary. But
how do you address that now? Like you say, don't panic. What is your approach
just take
now?
a breath, and because the next day is a new day.
Okay.
And it's amazing what comes around the corner.
So you'll decompress, take a couple of days if you need to.
Exactly.
And then reevaluate.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned in this business.
That's not easy to do though, is it?
No,
that only comes through failing and stress.
Yes.
The ability to do that.
No, it does. And
you can't train yourself to do that.
No, you can't.
You're forced to adapt, or you're forced to stop.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So my golden rule is, like, if it looks like things are going south, just don't react straight away. You just absorb the information that's in front of you and then come up with a solution, but don't do it straight away. Just think on it over 2 or 3 days. Nobody's going to come after you. It's
you're putting excess pressure on yourself in a way, right?
Big time, yeah. And that's what I used to do. But then it occurred to me, like, I've got time to figure this out, and so yeah. And that's how I get through.
That's amazing.
Stress. Yeah.
How long were you in Colorado in business before you came to Las Vegas, and why Las Vegas and not anywhere else in the States?
Yeah, so Colorado, we developed the business, but it was, you only got a short amount of time. It's seasonal in Colorado.
Oh, yeah. Okay, the snow.
And so Vegas was an obvious choice because it's year round.
So you knew that Vegas was the 100.
Yes.
It wasn't tied between that and Florida or something.
No, Florida's still on our radar, and we'll get there eventually. Just given the pandemic and everything, where everybody's rebuilding again and reassessing where, where to put their attractions and stuff now. But Vegas has always been a good, strong hub for us.
Okay. So that was a clear vision.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then how long, you started in a different location to where you're at now, right? You're kind of near the Trump.
Yeah. We used to be down right across on the other side of the freeway from the Trump Hotel there. It was a great site, right off the strip.
The background was really cool.
Background was amazing.
Yeah.
When the sun came up from the west, there was a big yellow glow, golden glow across our field from the Trump Hotel there.
I remember reaching out to businesses and seeing this thing, and the Vegas is in the background. I'm like, what is this place?
Yes.
It caught my attention because it was so different.
Oh, look, I'll tell you a good story. When we first opened, the owners that had the place had a big UFC board, and UFC were paying them a huge amount of money to have that board up there. And
because it's right on the freeway there.
It's right on the freeway, and they didn't want anything distracting from their board, so we couldn't put up any signage, and so which was frustrating because a lot of people didn't know what we were. They thought we were a construction company.
I thought you were literally clearing out the land.
Yes,
I didn't know it was a business.
So anyway, a guy walks in one day and he goes, I drive up and down this freeway every day. He said, you guys, I go past, the dirt's flying, and then I come back and nothing's been done. And my only answer I could give him was, mate, this is a union job. We got 2 years to build this thing. And, I was just joking with him, and he looked at me in total horror and disgust. And then once I explained to him that what we're up to, he goes, that's amazing. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
But that was a great location. But our location now is just south of the Strip. It's only 15 minutes from the Mandalay Bay. It's a great area.
Vegas and the M.
Yeah, the M Resort between there
and Speed. It's still a great location.
And it's out in the country a bit, and people that are on the Strip love to get off for a bit of fresh air.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without all the sensory overload that the Strip presents.
Plus, you go down Seven Magic Mountains on the way out, which is not a bad idea.
Yeah, no, it's a great area. It's growing out that way, and so, I love it down there now. Yeah.
So you got this successful business. How long did it take you to become profitable? Like how many years before you actually made a profit?
Well, when we came to Vegas, it took us 3-4 years to get profitable. And the reason in Vegas is you got to build the trust. And
what do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of fly-by-nighters that come to Vegas.
Okay.
They're gonna make money, overnight. And they rip a lot of people off in doing so, and so a lot of people have got their guards up when a new business comes to town.
Okay.
And so, we especially had a lot of work to do because somebody came in and registered our name and tried to copy what we were doing in Colorado before we came to Vegas. So he rented a lot of equipment, didn't pay for any of it, registered our name under the LLC, under the state. So he'd made a lot of bad relationships already with the hotels and everything, trying to get business, and everything went south with him after 4 or 5 months. So it took us a year to get the trust from that back.
That's interesting.
And then, hotels are wary who they work with. They want good quality operators, especially in the attraction business. Vegas is about quality. And until you can prove that, you're here to stay and you've got a good quality product and the feedback's really good, then the doors start opening. Okay. It's a very small business community here in Vegas. And you've just got to build that trust. And once you have it, then it's good to go. So, gotcha. But I understand it now after being here and seeing other new businesses coming in, and we want to maintain a level of quality and, just show people what Vegas has here on a high level. Okay. And give them something that they go home and talk about.
Yeah. Well, how do you know what equipment to start with? How much equipment did you start with?
Yeah, we started out with like 2 excavators and 2 Bull Dozers.
Yeah, I mean, you're not buying $50 like kayak or something. You buy like, what is that excavator worth?
Well, it depends on the size, of course. The bigger, the more it is. But like our little ones are about 30,000.
That's what I mean.
And then just for the kids.
Oh, the kids ones.
Yeah, they're about 30,000, wow. And then you're up to around 200,000 just for our medium range equipment. Wow. Yeah, that's
what I mean. Like one new piece of equipment is serious money.
But the beauty is, we don't use the equipment for what it's designed for.
So it's going to last forever.
So the maintenance is minimal.
Okay,
and so that's the payoff there.
Yeah. Okay.
And we want the equipment we have is really good quality. It's all Caterpillar equipment. All the manufacturers now make great equipment. Yeah. So we want to put the best available to people. You got to think Disney when you're in the attraction side. Okay. And just offer a good quality equipment that's clean and modern and easy to functionally, easy to operate as well. Okay. And that was the key. We wanted equipment that was, you get people going fast on it. The old days of 100 levers are gone. Everything's joystick now.
Yeah, it's very it's quite simple actually.
Yes,
I was surprised how simple it is.
And as you discovered, we had you up and running in about 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, you're amazed at what you can do in 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, and then under the guidance of an instructor, because you've got hands-free communications on. He's talking to you. They're talking to you from outside, and just telling you what to do with your left hand, your right hand at the beginning, and then...
Yeah, and they're doing the opposite, aren't they?
Yes.
Because they're actually like the opposite.
Yeah.
Which, it's pretty impressive how they do that.
Yeah, it takes a while to get your head around that.
Yeah.
But, once they've done a couple of thousand, it's pretty natural.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to touch on, you have amazing staff.
Yes.
And I know you have a certain way of hiring those staff.
Yes.
Talk to me about your process.
Yeah, look, in our business... it's totally different from the construction world. We hire people on people skills because they're the ones that have got to communicate what we need them to do in order for the customer to have a good time out there and be safe.
And not get frustrated because everyone's going to learn at a different pace, right?
Yeah, number one rule is you can't get angry at this. And so, we train... Most of our people that come here have never been on heavy equipment, our instructors.
Which is crazy, right?
It is.
Yeah, so it's literally people skills first.
It is people skills first, and then we train them on what we need them to teach our clients. And so, and it works out really well. They've got to have a real adaptive skill set around them, and we train this too, but in order to communicate with people, people learn in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people react more to body language or instead of verbal. Yeah. Visual, exactly. Yeah. So the guys learn to be really adaptive because, in order to get people going fast. So you may have 3 people on an excavator, 2 pick it up really fast, but one's struggling a bit, so they got to know how to change their approach and
that's
getting
interesting.
them off the mark. So
you had mentioned something in the past. It's like 50 interviews to get one person, or was 100 to 1 or something?
No, we used to do group interviews, and people hate group interviews. But the way we used to do it is, when you get a mass of people together, we gave them we split them into teams, and we got them all to learn about one person, and then they had to get up and explain, why that person should get the job.
Oh, interesting.
So it really threw them out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, that's big time.
But we also could see what they were like when they're out of their comfort zone, and also, how well they reacted with that person when they were interviewing them in order to present them. And
where did that come from?
It was one of the guys I had in my initial round table. He had a psychology degree.
Gotcha.
So he had ways of just sort of looking into people.
And you still use that today?
Yeah, we still use that today. And interesting, during the recession back in the 90s there, 2010. Construction was, totally on a low, and tons of unemployed people. When we put out a job interview, we rented a place just off the strip here to do these big group interviews, and we'd have like 20 to 30 people. So we'd do these exercises, like I was just explaining, but we got more advanced. They'd have to design activities for the clients to do and then present it, and we just watched in how they worked together and how they presented it. But the cool thing about those interviews were when we were all done, some people came up and said, I don't care if we don't get employed, but that was the funnest interview we've ever had.
That's probably a good sign for you.
Yeah, it was a great sign, yeah. So we continue to use that methodology, and it's a great way to pick the stars out of a bunch of people there. They're willing just to get up and,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So my first time out there was with Tiny. So if you do go out there, guys, Tiny is not so tiny.
No.
Tiny is a big boy.
Yeah.
But he was the reason that it was so amazing.
Yep.
The experience was great, but he made it so much greater.
Yes.
And when I went back the second time, I saw him. So the first thing I told him, like, dude, I remember you. You were amazing. You made this phenomenal for me.
Yeah, look, Tiny's been with us just over 5 years now. He's dealt with thousands of people, and he's just as passionate about, the first one he had to where he's at now.
Yeah.
And he can't wait to get.
He's so good with so many different types of people.
Big time, yeah. And Tiny didn't really come from a background where he was, dealing with people. Well,
he's a football player, right?
He was a football player, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it was a bit of a challenge at the start for him, but man, we could see in him that, man, he had the people skills.
Okay.
And we taught him all his equipment skills.
So you're just molding him.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
But he is a perfect example of the person we need out there. And people love him. They write about, when people write reviews, they write about our instructors first and the experience second.
How good's that?
And that's key.
That's crazy. Especially it's not a kayak tour. It's a heavy machinery crushing a car.
Yes.
And they're still talking about like the person helping him more than that.
Yes.
So that's, you're doing something pretty dang right.
Oh, too right.
Yeah.
But we've got like six Tinies working for us at the moment.
I love your stuff.
Yeah.
Because when I was doing all your content, coming out there all the time, I felt so comfortable and so at home from day one.
Yep.
Knew everybody by name. I felt welcome.
Yep.
And I can honestly say I don't get that type of warm feeling with other people. It was cool. And when I go back this week, I will feel just as comfortable as I did like 6 months ago.
Yep.
It's really cool. What's been some of the most rewarding things you've seen in people, customers, special needs, people come out use machinery?
Yeah, look, this experience is for everybody. And one thing we've got to figure out is getting, well, as far as the disabilities go, there's nothing we can't do except, obviously they need to have the ability to hear. So it restricts a lot of people with hearing issues.
Okay.
But we had 2 blind twins came out.
Did you really?
2 months ago.
Really?
They've been blind all their lives.
How old were they?
They're probably 18.
Okay.
Yeah. And they came out and they had a bull.
Guys, girls?
Sorry?
Guys or girls?
2 guys.
2 guys.
Yeah. But we, our age range is from 2 to 102 is our description.
That, yeah.
From all different backgrounds. People here people coming to like check off their bucket lists. People here for bachelorette parties. Guys that have actually worked in the industry building these machines that never actually got to run them, but they built components.
Oh, really?
We get engineers coming because they're around the equipment all the time, but they don't get to jump in it.
Gotcha.
So
it's like someone helped build a tank, but they never get to drive a tank.
We don't have one defined customer. It's right across the board. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Is there anyone particular it really stands out over the years that like you just kind of like was so rewarding? Like, hey, this is why we do this.
Oh, look, every day, because every day. The reason I love this job is because we change people's lives. We impact people's lives because they're taking on something they never thought they'd imagine. It can be quite intimidating. And when you see them arrive, they're not quite sure what they're getting into, like yourself probably. And And then when you get out, you got a whole new sense of achievement and the feeling there, and people are just so uplifted, and they've taken on a pretty good task and done well at it. And everybody does well. And so
that's the beauty, right? Everybody does well.
Yeah. And look, we don't care how they go about it. If the hole's 6 inches deep and the other guys are 6 foot deep, that 6 inch hole, that person got as much satisfaction out of that doing themselves.
Right.
And
just a bigger smile on their face.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so we don't set the rules. We set them up with the activity. And then, there's no pressure to complete anything. And, and it's progressive. As their eye-hand coordination gets better as they go through the different activities. So we start out with some real simple stuff, do a warm-up, do an in-ground activity and 2 above-ground activities. And then, we'll finish up on the excavators playing excavator basketball because you need a little bit more eye-hand coordination to do that. Which is
so cool. It's like massive claw picking up this tiny basketball and dumping it in a tire.
Yeah, and to do that's really good.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And we can get you there in an hour. Or 45 minutes to that stage.
Yeah. How many pieces of equipment do you have now?
So we got about 25 pieces.
You got 25, wow.
Yeah.
Are you going to keep expanding the Vegas location? If so, why?
Yeah, well, we are looking to expand further because we've started a school.
And you have started the school?
Yep.
Okay.
And so that's a whole new animal for us that we've taken on thanks to COVID. During COVID, all our equipment stayed idle, and so...
So you're looking for a way of making revenue.
Yeah, a way to another revenue model, but also if, either industry's falling apart, we got another one to fall back on.
Okay.
Now. So the school was in big demand.
Did you come up with that, or was it someone else's influence?
No, it was something we were always going to do, but we were focused more on the attraction side.
So kind of pushed it forward a little bit.
Yeah, and COVID made us push it over at the end to get it going. And then, there's a huge demand for operators now. There's a lot more people going out of the industry than there are coming in. So
why is that?
Well, it's not sexy. And, a lot of people got steered towards college, university. And now the trades are really struggling and
everyone wants to make TikToks and nobody wants to go.
And look, there's great jobs in other industries now that are paying just as much, and that it's like people are going to McDonald's now. These kids, and they're getting $18 to $20 an hour.
Yeah, what they would get back
all
home,
their benefits in a nice area, and out on a construction site, it's tough. There's all different environments they got to exposed to.
Do you get paid decent money in America driving heavy machinery?
Yeah, you do.
Okay,
and it's a great way of living, and you make great money, and you learn great skills as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me. So the schooling, what is the schooling exactly?
So our school is an entry-level school. So we want to get people interested in the trade.
Okay.
So if they've never been in a piece of equipment before, we do 1 week to 4 week courses just to get them going. And it covers the safety, the maintenance, and then, of course, the hands-on basic operations of the machines.
Okay.
And then that'll segue from there into further on-job training, or they can try to get into an apprenticeship as well.
Gotcha. So they're paying a certain amount of money for a certain amount of training.
Yes.
And then they get a skill set to go get a job.
Yeah.
Or they can keep increasing that skill set to get more likely to get a job or a better job.
That's right.
Gotcha.
And then, but interesting enough, we've got a lot of tradespeople that are in other trades that are wanting to learn it to add on to their skill set.
Why not, right?
Yeah, like plumbers are a great example. We've had plumbers from California that have came up, and they're waiting for contractors to come and do their initial site prep for them to lay their pipes, but they
just come do it myself.
They said we'll do it ourselves, so they come to us. We give them the first step training, and then they go back happy and rent a machine and do it themselves. Yeah.
How much? like paying for a course and then getting a job, how long is it going to take to, once you get that job, to pay off that course?
Yeah, not long, the way we do it.
Okay.
Yeah, our courses are $2,600 a week. So, they'll recoup that pretty fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering the initial investment opposed to how long it'll take.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and they'll roll into a job that's $18 to $25 an hour, depending on who they're working for.
Okay.
If they go into an apprenticeship, they're going to be on $18 to start out with. Or if they go with a private contractor, they'll probably get paid more as they'll progress further.
Does the skill set if you take that skill set back to New Zealand or back to Australia?
Yes.
Is it still the same, or is it?
Well, the curriculum we use it's a NCC ER curriculum, which design all the trades. It's an American company, and so they design the curriculum for most of the trades here in the US.
Okay.
Yeah, it's well recognized.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah, and our programs are state certified, through Nevada State post-secondary.
Okay.
So it's been well vetted and approved. So it was quite a process. Took us 2 years to get through the process. Yeah.
But now you're ready to go.
Now we're up and running.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna, as the demand comes, you keep buying more equipment to keep up.
That's right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And if we want to add, there's different levels of equipment. Obviously, we've got the mid-tier equipment, but when you're getting into scrapers and graders, it takes a lot more room and money to get that going. So we're focusing on just the entry-level stuff, like backhoes and, mid-size excavators and smaller bull dozers and wheel loaders. Yeah.
Okay. When are you going to get the big ball and chain thing? I'm only asking for personal reasons.
Sometimes this business is like a ball and chain around. But no, that's all demo work, and we get a big request for that. But
that would be pretty cool.
You need big things to knock down with those. So. Yeah.
That's amazing. I want to touch on some of the mistakes you've made over the time. Like, what's some stuff that stands out? What's some good lessons? I know you probably got a lot.
Oh, mate, we probably spent $1 million, $2 million more than we needed to in the beginning, knowing what I know now.
Yeah. Anything particular or just all around?
Well, I think when you start out and you're in the land of the unknown, it's hard to put a budget together and estimate what your costs are going to be. So,
how would you have any idea?
We didn't.
Plus, you got no blueprint or anyone else.
Yeah, even the people I had on the round table, it was just, like I say, we were shooting from the hip. But, advertising was a big cost. That's probably still one of our hardest things is where we spend our marketing dollars.
Okay.
Because it's changing all the time. Social media is changing all the time. It's
hard to measure too, right?
Yes.
Like your marketing, your Facebook ads, your social media.
Yeah. And
the ROI is very kind of shady.
Yeah, it is. And, one thing I did learn was we only advertise or market with where we can, trace our ROI.
Yeah.
And so we got to be able to follow it and get the data.
Gotcha.
So digital marketing is a perfect example. So we can follow that digital marketing all the way from when we put the ad out right through to the sale.
Okay.
So,
and how much it costs you for that conversion?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Print, radio, you can't really get a gauge on it.
But it's still kind of as important. You get a lot of free marketing though, don't you? You get a lot of people offering you podcasts, TV shows.
Big time. We're so lucky because we're so unique and it's a really fun concept.
You're bringing so much value to them, but they're giving you so much value in return.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's some of the biggest things you're being on as far as like awareness or TV shows or? Oh,
it's right across the board. Like when we first started, Bill Geist from CBS Sunday Morning gave us the launch we needed. He found out about it. My PR person at the time, she knew the producer, and he had a really big audience. He had 6 million followers.
Oh, wow.
And that was 15 years ago. And so when that came on prime time, CBS Sunday Morning, you had 6 million people looking, and that launched us.
You can't pay for that type of exposure.
You can't pay for that. And he was a great guy. He had a great time. We had a good time with him. But look, we do a lot of reality TV shows that come out. We do a lot of, like, all the main media stations, all the main networks have been out and done shows with us. You can't pay for that.
No.
And, it's really good. And that's been probably one of the most impactful things is just the PR side. And the key thing is if you can find a good PR person that has good relationships, that's key as well.
I feel like anytime I've talked to you, like, oh, so-and-so's coming out. I think last time we talked, was it Jimmy Kimball? Fallon? Was it Kimball or Fallon?
Yeah, it was a little sidekick there. He came out.
Yeah, I mean, every time I'm talking to you, you got some other big celebrity coming out.
Yeah, well, we got another good one coming out this week. I can't talk about it, of course.
Yeah, but there you go. Like, you got someone else coming out.
Yeah.
You just proved me right.
This is the beautiful thing about Las Vegas, though, because it brings in all these really cool shows and people from all over the world.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping with this podcast. It's like everyone comes to Vegas.
Yes.
So it's just snapping them while they're here.
Yes.
Who are some of the high-profile people, the biggest people you've kind of had come out that like stand out to you?
But it's interesting because some people that are high-profile, we don't even know.
I was going to say, like, how would you know?
They come in disguise.
They hide from you.
Yeah. Like
so it's not an age thing. It's
Yeah, like people will come they'll book a session, but like the media is the media, but half of them I don't even know, which is embarrassing, which is kind of nice because we treat them like normal people.
Yeah.
But no, it's right across the board when for all the people that are out there. I'm not going to name drop, but we've had some cool people.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Back on the mistakes, what other mistakes, like besides spending too much money, your budgeting?
Yeah, learning how to handle employees was another big lesson for us. I probably could not understanding, well, the world's crazy, and especially now, trying to hire people is really tough.
Yeah.
And adapting to what their needs are now.
And we're more old school, like,
yes.
People are changing.
People are changing, it's not a generational thing, by the way. I was just at a conference.
Yeah.
And what we're experiencing with this new generation is nothing new from going back to the Romans. They presented this really well, but it's just, it's human emotion and how to deal with that and on a daily basis and trying to get these younger kids engaged, especially in this kind of attraction as well. We tend to hire a lot more older people because they're a little bit more stable, and yet I still want a lot more younger people coming in because it's a great stepping stone for them to learn not only the attraction business but also the heavy equipment business as well.
Yeah, skill for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and you got to have a certain maturity for what we do. It's tough on the younger ones, but they're dealing with Fortune 500. We're dealing with Fortune 500 companies, all big companies, all the time.
Yeah,
we're dealing with high-profile clients, and sometimes they have trouble getting their head around it because they're intimidated. But once they get a few under their belt, then it's they're people. And
you said 50% of your customers are from conventions, right?
Yes, so almost
that's
over
amazing.
50%.
Over
now.
50.
Yeah.
Wow.
And an interesting other fact is 50% of our clients overall are women. Which is
really? That's
fantastic.
amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And do people know that, or is it just evolved itself?
It's just evolved itself. Women love heavy equipment. I used to be in the sandbox when we were all kids and stuff.
That's
My sister and I were always
Yeah.
playing together.
We're always playing.
But think about it. We're really happy in our sandbox, weren't we? Then we got yanked out and we had to go to school and sports and stuff.
It's like we forget the older we get, we just get we just forget to play and be a kid. And you get to be a kid all over again.
So from there, we've just taken it to the next level and you can carry on playing. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, because you're right. Like once you're inside, it's just hands and coordination and you've got someone in your ears.
That's right.
It's not rocket science. It's no reason a female can't. Females could probably do it better than males anyway, like you said, because they listen more.
Yes.
Yeah.
They show more reaction. Like they're very emotional, and they laugh and scream. And guys are a little bit more intense, but
we got that ego issue, don't we?
There's an ego issue with the guys. Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy. Where are you going to go from here? Like you've obviously got the training. Are you looking to expand different states? You just keep growing because where you're at, you can go as big as you want. You got a lot of land out there.
Yes. Yeah.
So where are you thinking?
Well, Orlando's the next biggest market.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind, right?
Yeah. And then LA, of course, is, there's several tens of millions of people around that LA area as well. The entry to business there's a lot tougher with all their restrictions and the business licensing and stuff. It's really tough, and it's an expensive place to do business. But we'll get there eventually. But it's just finding that right place. But definitely Orlando's the next place we're we're looking at. Okay. We have another location in New Zealand that's owned by a company down there that run big museums down the bottom of the South Island.
It's on the South Island.
Yeah, it's not far from
So do you own that, or is it part of?
No, we sold a license to those guys there.
You sold it? Okay.
Yeah, they took exactly the same business model as we did.
So when you say you sold it, is that kind of like a franchise in a way?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a lot more freedom to do things outside of a franchise, which is nice.
Okay.
So, we get inquiries every week to... for people interested in the franchises, but it's an expensive startup. So drives a lot of people away. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And they've got to have the expertise in order to run this sort of business as well. So once we sort of get down to the nitty gritty, it's a lot of the time it's not a good fit.
Yeah. And New Zealand is, if people don't know, New Zealand is like the hub for adventure now, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
why is that? Where did that come from?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just Kiwis are sort of. They love doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about
jet boats and bungee jumping,
and swings and bungee jumping and like excavate. Yeah. It's crazy. Like even come from Australia, I had no idea that existed.
Right.
And it's just evolving. And it's like New Zealand is just like, besides being one of the most beautiful places in the world, it's the craziest place to go to do the craziest stuff.
Yes.
That's nuts. As far as you personally, like self-development, are you reading? Have you got mentors? Have you got business courses, or are you just kind of figuring this out on the go?
Yeah, I've kind of been figuring this out on the go, and I'm not a big reader. I just follow my gut instinct usually, and I do listen to a lot of podcasts.
You do? What type of stuff you listen to?
Oh, How I Built This, the guy Roz has been really good. He's on NPR. And just listening to channels like that are really influential for me. Listening to entrepreneur stories.
Has that helped you a lot, has it?
Oh, yeah, because they all made mistakes too. We're all telling the same story, especially like, from the startups, side. And like the guys that started IBM, Burton Snowboards, all that diversity of different businesses and those entrepreneurs always saying the same story. And why they lasted was why they got there. They had massive hurdles they had in the beginning as well, and they stuck with it. And they didn't get too worked up about the issues they were having, and they just kept pushing. And it's good influence.
It's kind of like that saying, "Failing's only failing when you give up." And like the more I learn about different businesses, the more I was like, wow, Netflix only just made it. Yeah. This business only just made it. And then with technology coming along, just wiping businesses out overnight, it's scary.
Yes.
Like business is not easy, and it's not. I like what you said about the passion, but you never know what's coming around the corner.
No, you get thrown a hurdle all the time. Look, business brings tremendous highs, but man, it brings probably more lows than anything, but you learn to get through those, and you just got to have a discipline. Like, that's not going to get me down today. I got other things to think about, and I'll think about how I'm going to fix this.
Have you ever heard that story? If I knew what it took, I would never do it again. Like, if you knew what you've been through and you were presented it again, would you do it? And most people are like, no.
no way in hell I do that. Yeah,
you're too naive to realize what's ahead of you.
Like, I've talked to a couple of business classes before, and my first thing is don't do it. Just don't do it. If you're not used to this, if you're enjoying your comfortable lives now and you want to be an entrepreneur, and you've got to get out of your comfort zone, don't do it. Yeah. I
mean, that's real talk though, right? Because there's a lot of hype. It's very cool to be an entrepreneur these days, but the reality is it's not easy.
No, it's
any level.
Yeah.
There's 60% of businesses break even or lose money. 60%.
Yep.
And then what is it? 90% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. Yes. 90% of those fail in the next 5 years.
Yep.
It's not easy.
Yep.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, and I could have been either one of those.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Yeah. And believe me, there was times I almost threw my hands up and was like, right, I'm done. But I've had people talk me off the cliff before. Yeah. And this is why you got to find mentors. And
do you have mentors?
I do. Yeah.
Is that the people at your table, or have you found different people?
As we've moved on, I've found people that I trust and value, given their business experience as well. And we check in every quarter.
Oh, you do.
And then
is it a phone call, or you get together, or?
Yeah, either or. And we look at my challenges and the things we've done right, and then we make some adjustments. But you can't do it all by yourself. it's impossible. You've got to find mentors and people you can talk to. I think a lot of people in business are maybe embarrassed to talk to people, which is probably why they don't succeed.
Do you think that's fear, not fear of failing, the fear of someone else's opinion? Oh, I told you couldn't do that, or I told you not to start that.
Yeah.
Why do you think we hold it close to our chests? And
I think,
we don't see.
We have a lot of pride, a lot of us, and pride kills a lot of things too.
Yeah.
And so, but one thing I learned early, and it was, if you've got problems, you got to be able to talk to people about it, and they can help you. And look, people especially a lot of people who've been in business for a while love to share their stories and their help because they've been through it. And it took me a while to understand that. 5-6 years in, we're at a point at that 5-year mark, and we got over the hump. And then even 5 years ago, I got to a point where it's like, mate, this is tough, and I don't know if I want to do this anymore. But I called them up. We sat down. We've got a plan, and we changed the business model a little bit, and boom, we're off again.
Really?
Yeah. And without those guys, we wouldn't be sitting here talking.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
How my last kind of just to finish up with, do you help other people? Do people come to you for like you mentioned you're doing like business talks, but do you have people that you mentor and people can call you and you advise?
Yeah, if anybody wants to call me, I'm always available.
You're like an open book.
Yeah, and like on social media, there was a person down in New Zealand, for example, that was struggling with some local government issues that had really stalled their operation.
Okay.
And so I just reached out and said, hey, I'd love to help you. I've been in this position before. And that's the beauty about this industry. It's a small industry, but I think it's selfish not to help out and
give
help
back.
These people through.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
And it's not so much giving back. It's just, I think it's a necessity that we should just help people, and
it should be that way, right? Yeah. What I find, like, I work for all business owners, entrepreneurs, and they're the nicest, friendliest people who are happy to share the story, give advice, recommend books, answer the phone.
Yeah.
It's I feel like the more successful you are, the more crap you're being through, the more relatability and the more you are willing to help others.
Yes.
And you seem like the perfect example of that.
Well, I'm eager to share with what I've learned as well. And it's just, I get the industry. I get what it takes to run a business. I mean, we learn every day, because you don't know what's around the corner. You're always faced with challenges. And you just got to have the discipline to think it through and sort it out. And that's the first thing I tell everybody is don't react. Just think it through. Just take a breath. And, after a couple of days, it'll all come to you and you'll have a solution.
Do you find subconsciously you figure stuff out? Like if you don't, like you go to sleep, the next morning you wake up, oh, maybe this is this.
Yeah. And I do my best thinking, hiking. Like I'll get out.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that actually.
I live in Colorado and, even here, like I've got some trails I go on. I take time out of the day and I'll
just by yourself?
By myself. And just, it's quite therapeutic for me, and where I can just think about things and I usually come up with solutions or come up with some good ideas as well.
So we had a podcast the other day, we were talking about like taking out time, quiet time for yourself.
Yes.
And that's your way of doing that.
Yes. And look, putting in 20 hours a day is not going to do you any good. You've got to take time out for yourself.
Okay.
And it's just something you got to do, and it's healthy. Being stressed out every day in your business and the hard part's turning off. I could never turn off for 10 years. And then I finally was able to teach myself, I've got to break away from this, spend more time with my family, go on some trips, and
balance it a little bit better.
And get out by myself and get in the wilderness and just think about things. It's amazing what you think about when you're walking. Or
it's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to finish off with, when are you going to stop? You plan on retiring anytime soon, or are you just going to like create this empire and just work for the rest of your life?
Yeah, this is really the small part of my life, and we had a lot to do, my wife and I, and she took a big gamble on me with this business, and it's taken up a lot of taken me away, and so Yeah, I'm not into this forever. I mean, I'm my goal is, it always has been, is, and you should always build a business with the intention to sell it.
Okay.
Yeah, and
that's been the intention from day one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so, when we get to the certain level where I want it, we're not too far off, but, I want to move on and do some other cool things.
Is it a financial level? Is it a certain size level? How do you measure that to know when you're there?
Well, I'm quite satisfied now, to be honest with you, but I want to see the school through, get that really humming. But yeah, I've been there, done that, and I'd want to move on to some other cool things.
You got anything in mind?
Not yet. Yeah. I want to buy a jet boat and go cruise up some rivers.
All of a sudden you got a jet boat business around the world. I love it.
I'll be in the outdoors.
Thank
Cheers,
you
mate.
so much for your time. That was a pleasure.
Cool.